today's vlog is just gonna be stuff that I've consumed recently that I've really enjoyed and wanted to share. First is this documentary called Mile and a Half, and it's about a group of people. They're all videographers and photographers. They hike the John Muir Trail, which from Yosemite National Park to Mount Whitney in California in the Sierra Nevada mountains. And they document their journey. It takes 25 days. I found it really interesting, and it really, because I'm moving back to California soon, it inspired me to go to the Sierra Nevada mountains and hike around again, as soon as I get back home. Although it will be winter, so maybe I'll just plan all the trips that I'll do later in the season. I really recommend this. Some beautiful shots of backcountry Sierra Nevada. A book I recently flew through and couldn't get enough of is John Scalzi's Lock-In, and this book was published this year. I knew I liked Scalzi as a person, as a Twitterer and a blogger, and just the events I've seen him, and I loved Red Shirts. But this was my second Scalzi novel, and I feel like this is a novel that cemented I do like Scalzi also as an author. So I really liked this book a lot, and some really cool questions were thrown in there. And if you ever read this book, please tell me after you finished it so I can ask you one question that my friend of mine asked me, and it blew my mind, and I spent the rest of Friday night just going everything I know. Last but not least is a podcast, and this podcast has been talked about pretty much everywhere in my sphere of internet, and that is the Serial podcast. You probably can't see that. I don't have any current episodes because I am caught up. The thing about Serial is that it's bringing a lot more awareness to podcasts. It's very popular, and there's a lot of discussion around it, and there's a lot of serious discussion because it is a 10-part, or I believe a 10-part podcast. It's trying to see if there was a wrongful conviction of a murderer. So there are a lot more serious aspects and serious forums where they're trying to solve the case using the evidence given. But what I've also really enjoyed is comedic tweets about Serial. Basically, every time I see these tweets, I just giggle because they capture the obsession and how good this podcast series is, and you only get about 30 minutes each Thursday, and so each Thursday by 6 a.m. it's posted, and usually by 7 a.m. most people have already listened to it. The convicted murderer who's currently in jail is Adnan, and so here's a tweet that says, "Adnan totally did it. See me next week for a full reversal on above." And that's basically you're listening to this podcast, and it's just he did it, he didn't do it, he did it, he didn't do it, but then if he didn't do it, who did it? And one from Adam Pally: "At this moment for me, Adnan did it and doesn't know they did it." Some Fight Club shit. Actually, hold on, I gotta think about that. One of the best ones was from Maureen Johnson, which was a series of tweets. So it said, "The sudden flash of myself 2 weeks from now, listening to the final episode of Serial when they say we can never know the truth. Why are we doing to ourselves, serial eaters? We know our future pain. At least I think it's in 2 weeks. Is it 10 episodes? Or does it go on forever, driving us all slowly mad? This is what Ira Glass wants. This is how he takes over." I just love this community that's built around this podcast where we're trying to figure out, and it's this huge mystery that's real life mystery, but then we all know that we're probably driving ourselves mad. It's a great place to be. Podcast.